All right, we'll just give it a couple of moments while we get everything connected here.
Hmm.
Just gonna make a quick post to my author group and make sure everybody is aware that we're here.
Whoops.
All right, and if you have any specific topics or questions, feel free to go ahead and post it in the chat. So hi, we have Sally, Kelly. Is it Kelly or Kel? Feel free to take yourself off mute. I see Jennifer, got your question. Good, good. All right. I love that we got more people coming in and taking advantage of these sessions. That's awesome. All right. So welcome everyone. I'm going to go ahead and get started. For those of you that don't know me, my name is April Cox, and every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, I go live on YouTube and I open up my Zoom and I just answer self-publishing questions. Some of the folks joining me today, maybe some of my students. This is also open for anyone, regardless of whether you are a member of my program or not. So you can post questions for me in the chat. If you are watching from YouTube, you can also post on the YouTube chat as well. And I will do my best to monitor both. And welcome. So a couple of announcements that I have as we're getting started here. My self-publishing Made Simple 12-week work group that just kicked off. There are a few spots left, and there's just a few days to lock in. If you have not been able to sign up or you've been putting it off till the last minute, this is it. So if you are interested in becoming a part of our author work group, and the group itself takes you through every step of publishing a children's book. And the only requirement to get started is that you have a manuscript written. We will walk you through the editing, the illustration, design, formatting, and all of the other things that happen in between. So I do invite you to take advantage of that. And I'm happy to share some information, and I will post a link so that you can check out. The special thing about this particular group is instead of doing it again in 3 months and then that taking us through the end of the year, I've actually decided to extend this 12-week program so that anybody that signs up for this 12-week process is going to have me and my team supporting them all the way through the end of the year so that we can together publish our books for Christmas. So I do welcome you to ask questions about that if you'd like to know more. And let's just see, we've got some questions here. I'm going to start with 2 questions that I received by email. And so we'll get started there, and then I'll open up, and you can feel free, if you're here with me on Zoom, you can feel free to take yourself off mute, and if you need anything additional with what I'm talking about, you've got questions or you need to stop me and back me up, feel free to do that. So the first question I got through email was from Michelle, who asked, do I really need to have an editor if I have a background in education and in English? And so Michelle has a children's book that she would like to get published, and she's wondering if it's okay to skip past the editing. So the short answer is don't do it. You definitely do need a professional edit, because we do have the opportunity with a professional editor. You have the opportunity to have a fresh set of eyes on your manuscript.
It won't shut up.
She still got me.
Yeah, I couldn't get it to shut up. It switched itself from these to the other speaker, and I couldn't get it to stop. Oh, I don't think I'll bother with it anyway.
You're gabbing to me. There we go. I'm gonna just mute whoever was talking. I'll revise my request. If you're in a noisy place, then please keep yourself on mute until there's a question. Otherwise, you can feel free to take yourself off of mute and ask a question. Okay. So one of the things I want to clarify about Michelle's question is it's not just enough to have a professional edit on your book, but you have to have the right kind of professional edit. For example, you have to have a developmental, there's different types of editing. There's developmental edit that focuses on the story arc, your structure. How well did the characters get explored? Are you developing your character well enough? Even a short children's book needs an aspect of a story arc, and it needs to have interesting characters and dialogue and things of that nature. So a developmental edit takes you through that. Then you have things like line and copy editing, which take care of things like the structure of sentences and paragraphs. And you've got grammar and things and spelling that comes in during that step. And then at the very end, you're going to want to have, prior to your book going live, you're going to want to have someone do a proofreading of it. So some people, when you're looking for an editor, a professional editor, one common mistake that I see people make is that they might hire somebody as an editor and think they're getting a great deal, but what they're hiring is somebody that just does line and copy editing, or they're only paying for a final review of their book. So it's not the comprehensive editing that you really need. So you want to make sure that you have that comprehensive edit and start with the developmental edit, and in order to go through it. My editor that I give all my books to is Bobby Hinman, and she herself wrote a book about mastering the art of writing children's books. She's also been an editor for 15 years, and she had an editor for her book. And she has a different editor that she has do all of her editing of her children's books as well that she writes. So if somebody with 30 years of experience needs to have an editor, then I would say absolutely you need to have an editor as well. If you're looking for a fantastic editor for your children's book, I am happy to share Bobby Hinman's information, and you can tell her that I sent you. It is a fairybooklady@gmail.com. And she is just phenomenal and can do all of those things, as well as edit your bio, your book blurb, your press kit, and even when you're ready to go live with your Amazon listing, she'll help take a look at what you've got for your book description as well. And all of that's part of her comprehensive edit. So highly recommend Bobby, and definitely, even if you don't work with Bobby, work with someone who has experience in the genre that you're writing in and has a lot of experience doing children's books like yours, or if it's a different genre, make sure that individual is working in that genre and has lots of experience under their belt. One other question I got by email that I was asked to cover today is how do I know which illustrator to choose, or reworded slightly, how do I find the right illustrator for my book? And I will give you my trick. Well, first of all, I do have a pre-vetted list of illustrators that I share with all of my students. But regardless of that, I always start with a sample request. So take a look at the portfolios of the illustrators that you're considering. Make sure that they are legitimate. And one good way to do that is to ask other authors for recommendations of illustrators that they really like. There's so many author Facebook groups and things like that. You can get some really great recommendations from other authors. But if you stumble across people on Instagram and others like that, that you think might be worth exploring and potentially becoming an illustrator for you, the first thing that you'll want to do is pick 3. This is my recommendation. Pick 3 illustrators and request a sample from each one of them. And the sample should be the same exact request. And in order to come up with that, you really need to think about what is it that your illustrator needs to get right with your book. Is it the character specifically? For me, that it was with my little Labradoodle character. I wanted the illustrator to get him right. For other people, it's a setting, it's a mood, it's something that if you're writing a book about a sunset, then let the sample be that individual giving you a sample of how they would illustrate a sunset. And if you give them reference images and you give them a short summary of what you want that sample to be, and you give the same exact thing to all 3 of them, first thing that you should get back are some drafts. And then after, I always recommend, even if it's absolutely perfect just the way it is with just your sketch, ask for some change, because you also are evaluating whether or not there's going to be any communication issues. Are they able to respond to your inquiries or to your change requests? How quickly do they provide the information back? And then once your sketch comes back through and it looks good, then finalize and approve it for coloring. The illustrators that I work with, usually it's anywhere from $50 to $100 for the sample, depending on how complex it is. So if I'm just drawing one single character, it might be $50. If they're illustrating a sunset, which is going to be a lot more difficult and more time consuming to illustrate, then that would be probably lean closer to the $100 or maybe even more, depending on what you're asking for. So give them information, give them reference images, and then in the end, you have 3 different illustrator takes on what the example is that you've got, and you have the ability to compare. You can also post on your Facebook or your Instagram and let others help you vote on the one they like the best, right? Those are really engaging posts. And it also helps to communicate the fact that, hey, I'm writing a book. And by the way, I need you to help vote on some things for me. And it helps you to connect with an audience that's really going to be excited about following your journey as a writer. So once you've got, the selection, just make sure that you also have a solid contract. I put together my own contract, which is a work for hire contract, because I want to make sure that I own 100% of my artwork. I don't share royalties. I rather pay more and own 100% of the work that comes out of that. And so that's what my contract does. And again, I share that with my students and those who are taking my work group and things like that. So that is how you will help you select a good illustrator. Anybody have comments on either one of those things before I move on, for those of you that are with me live here?
Can I ask if you've tried one illustrator out, or should we wait for another time to ask that question?
Ask.
That 20 storybooks, that's a really good bargain. Do you know anyone that's used them at all? Because I looked at their page and stuff, and
Yeah,
I don't know, it's just hard to say. I kind of want to go with a company per se. I would like to, just because I just think they might be easier in my perception to maybe work with, because they always seem like they'll take whatever direction you give them and they welcome it. And just
right.
from what I've gathered and stuff like that. So, and plus if I have several books, then I can just keep going to the same, because I've noticed like some people, like they go to people and then they get other jobs and get busy. And,
That is
if you go with a company, you can always like maybe count on the company.
Yeah, so my favorite illustration firm, they have 35 illustrators and I work with them the same way. Sometimes I go to them and say, give me 3 artists. Here's the sample I want, and I want to evaluate all 3 and pick the one that I like the best. So I do that. So you don't necessarily have to go. So this can also count with companies as well. There are
Oh, okay.
firms out there that do a great job with illustrations, and they do have multiple folks, but I would still do the same thing. Now,
Okay.
20 storybooks, I think I'm trying to remember the exact URL, but I do have one of my authors who has been working with them, and the budget was what was attractive to her. I think it's $1,000 for a certain number of illustrations, and
Right.
I find that their work and the illustrators that they have look good to me. The length of time it takes to go through that has been very long. It's probably going to be, more like a 6-month process than a 3-month process. So if budget is the key issue, then working with them could be a good answer. For me, I like a higher level of artwork. So while I think there's nothing wrong with their artwork, and I think it could be marketable, I feel like it's not something I would choose for myself, but for
Who
other.
do you like?
So
What's
my
the firm?
absolute favorite is Prayan Animation.
Crayon Animation.
Love Prayan Animation. And if you are interested in an introduction or whatever, I'm happy to post an email that you can contact them. But one of the things that I would say is, if you're interested in them using like a work for hire contract, and you let them know that you're one of April's authors, and they have a different process that I have enforced on them, that my contract must be done within a certain amount of time. And we go, so I have trained them very well on what I need for my authors in order to get through a 12-week process with them.
Okay.
So I would highly recommend, and I'm going to put the email address that you can contact there.
Thanks.
And I would definitely reach out to that particular contact, because I have her manage all of my author projects, and she's the best of the best. And you don't want to get willy-nilly assigned to just anybody. I'd love to see you assigned to somebody that knows exactly how to work through this stuff for my 12-week process.
I really appreciate it.
Good. All right. So anyone else have comments about their illustrator? Has anybody worked with an illustrator you really like, or an editor you really like, that you want to plug or recommend here?
I liked my illustrator, but she was with Reedsy. So she was a little bit more expensive, but I really liked her.
Okay. Nice.
Although I have to say, we never did, you insist on having Zoom meetings. We never Zoomed. We only did everything through email. So
yeah.
I
feel
really
like
that.
Yeah, for me, if you're able to get through everything with a regular, email communications, then that's great. I find that if there's an illustrator that says, I'm sorry, but I do not do face-to-face Zoom meetings, then I'm just not going to work with that person, because there's to me, quite often, there comes a time when there's just confusion back and forth with email, and you just got to jump on a call to talk it through. And a lot of times the reason why they don't want to do that is because there's communication issues. Maybe their English isn't very good. And so I want to shake that out ahead of time and make sure that the individual I'm working with is truly going to be able to communicate with me the way that I need them to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Sally. I see your hand.
Yeah, hi. Well, you asked who we worked with. So I was an English teacher for over 20 years, so I'm addressing the first person who had a question. And I went with Bobby Hinman, and I am so happy I did. And I've gone back to her for numerous things. So yes, I think I'm the grammar queen, but there's so much more to it than that. And so I was really happy I went with her for a lot of the editing. And then I went with Prayin, and I love Prayin. So I just finished my first book, and I'm in the process of posting it on Amazon and Ingram Spark. And my second book is also being done by Prayin, and that's in the process of being colored. So I couldn't be happier with them. So they've done a great job for anybody who's looking.
Yeah, and their turnaround time is so good. Their ability, what I really love is that they manage the projects really well. You get an assigned project manager, and they really do a fantastic job of taking you through that whole process as well. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, Sally.
Oh, and last but not least is April, who helped us through the whole thing.
Thank you. Thank you. And you've gone through the course with me, haven't you, Sally?
Yeah, I have, and then was lucky enough to get into the extension. And I've been going to the meetings and keep learning things all the time. So I was coming tonight thinking, well, I'm almost questioned out. I'm not sure how.
Oh, nice. So would you recommend the author work group for those that maybe are thinking, oh, this is the last chance. Should I sign up? Should I not sign up? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm really happy with it. There's a lot to publishing a children's book, so it looks deceptively simple. You write 650 words and you hire this person and that person, but there's a lot more to it than that. And just having a support group, having April and a support group, the rest of the people from the classes has been great. And I'm really excited to be hanging around after the class is over.
Thank you. You've been a quick learner too. So now you're on what book is it? How many books have you gotten out there?
Well, so while I wrote my first book, and that started in January. And then in my spare time, I wrote an adult word search, which I just published. And my second book is in coloring process, and I have my third book written, and Bobby edited all those except the word search book, and Prayin did the first two, and they're going to do the third one as well.
And you also did a coloring and activity book too for your children's picture book as well. So you ended up
Actually,
3 books published from January to now, and you've got more on the way. That's just incredible.
right. And I have a teaching guide that's in the works for my book too. So that kind of, and yeah, I'm not, it's been a lot. I will say that it's been a lot. I've had to try to stay on top of things. So yes, I've accomplished all that with everybody's help.
Nice. Awesome. Well, congratulations and thanks for sharing. Okay. So Kelly says, I'm an author illustrator and I rarely ever hire. So tell me more, Kelly, about your process and how are things going with you? Do you have anything to share or any questions to ask for me? Okay, we'll give Kelly a minute just in case she wants to get herself off of mute. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Hi, I wondered if Prayin Animation does lifelike art. I mean, so that you look, it almost looks like a photograph.
There are artists that will do that, I can just say that it is very costly and time consuming. And also with AI art, able to do those kind of lifelike, taking a photograph and almost making it look exactly the same. I wonder if people are going to think that you used an AI thing, and then that's going to be like a negative for you. So it just consider those things. But when you reach out to Prayan, you can also ask about that realistic style.
It would be like this. They would know that it's probably drawn, but it looks very,
Oh, beautiful. That's
yeah.
very beautifully done.
So
Yes.
it looks like it's artwork, but very lifelike.
Yeah, so that kind of artwork, I've seen people charge anywhere from 250 to 500 a page. So I don't know if that's within your budget, but that's kind of probably what you would be expected to pay for that kind of illustration.
I can tell you what I did pay for 40 pages, and I own the copyright, is $7,000.
Yeah, yep, that sounds about right.
Yeah. But do people do artwork with AI and on their books, and so you're saying that's frowned upon?
Well, some people, there's a big controversy about AI artwork, and it's stealing from other authors because it was trained on art that was other people's art. So there's a big push of many people saying it's evil and don't do it, and you're putting illustrators out of business. And then there's others like myself who think, well, this could be a way for illustrators to really produce a lot of stuff much more quickly and efficiently, so that instead of putting illustrators out of business, it would be giving them tools that would help make things more efficient and quicker to do. And I even have some of my authors who are learning how to illustrate their own books with AI, and they're doing a fabulous job with it, and it's very beautiful. It's just like anything else. When you do it right, you can't really even tell that it's AI art and not what you just picked up and showed me. But when you do it wrong, it's like obviously AI, and it's not, it's lower quality, right? So you need to take the time to really learn how to do it well.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't frown upon it, because from my perspective, and I use AI to like come up with characters. I came up with my little grumpy cat that's going to be part of my Christmas book, and I took some pictures of my granddaughter that is also starring in that book, and did some AI generated things until I got the character just the way I liked it. And I sent those over as a way of inspiring my illustrator to say, hey, this is kind of what I'm looking for. So that way there's no back and forth for, a week or more trying to find just the right look and feel of the particular characters that I'm starting with.
I love the way AI art looks. I really do. I'd like to have my books look like AI art, but the thing is, I don't want to go the AI route just because of the whole thing about they don't think you can copyright it. Now they're saying Amazon ask you if any of your artwork's AI or something like that. I don't even know. So, but I would like to find an illustrator that does has art that looks like AI.
Yeah, there are beautiful illustrations, and there are some that are. One of the things I'll comment a couple of comments on that realistic, hyper realistic style is what they call it, but it can, if you're having an illustrator do it for you, there's a kind of a fine line between looking beautiful like a photo, and then there's a point where it starts to look a little creepy, especially faces. So just be careful. I mean, you're laughing, Karen, but I'm serious, because I have seen some of the, people that come to me and say, I want realistic. Here's a picture of my son. He's going to be the star of the book. And it sometimes it just gets creepy looking. And I look at the book and I'm like, oh, not what I would have liked to see. for the book. Now, what you just showed, Elizabeth, was beautiful, and that is not. But some artists that are doing realistic artwork, you might hire somebody thinking you're getting one thing, you know, that beautiful artwork that you showed, and then you end up with something that looks realistic, yes, but the faces are really hard for them, very hard for them. It's for some artists. So just really look at your artist and what they've been able to do. And if you're on a site like Fiverr or Freelancer or one of those, don't just take the pictures that they have in their portfolio, and that's with anything. Don't just take that as this is what that person can do, because I've been scammed, and so have a lot of other people, where they put images that they have taken from other illustrators, and they try to pass them off as their own. And then when you actually hire them, what you get back is not at all what you bargained for. So that's one of the reasons why going through samples is such an important thing for me, and evaluating whether or not somebody can truly provide you the level of quality that you want, and for the exact project that you're looking to do. Okay. Let me just quickly look at the chat that's here. So KL says, I was going to ask, I have a fair amount of books published, but struggling with promo and ads, really low budget. Okay, so you have a low budget. Any specific tips that could help me out, as I can't afford spending much money on ads? So we had a great session with the co-founder of Reedsy, Ricardo Fayette, and that was this past Monday. And he talked about marketing, and this was our Marketing Monday session for our mastermind group. And the focus, he said, the number one most important thing that's going to get you 80% there is to have a really high quality book, a beautiful cover. The product itself needs to be high quality. So if you have a book that you feel is really high quality and is marketable, then, I mean, that's 80 to 90% of what you need. No matter how much money you spend on ads for a book that's not quite up to par, it's not going to drive sales. So happy to take a look at the link and provide you with some suggestions, give you some feedback on the quality of the cover and of your Amazon listing. If you want to post a listing in the chat, I'll hop on and take a look at it for you. With regard to other things you can do for promotion, I would look at things like Amazon, I'm sorry, promotions like the Fussy Librarian to drive traffic and give more awareness, which they have an email list of something like 700,000 people, and a percentage of them have signed up and said, I'm interested in promotional ebooks, free ebooks. So by letting people know about your ebook, you might be giving it away as a free peek, but it's also going to let people know that it's out there. And people that love your ebook, they scroll through it, they get the free one, and they like it. They're not going to gift it to their children as an ebook. They'll go buy one. So I think for children's books, promotions like that, ebook promotions, can be really helpful. And for a promotion with the Fussy Librarian, it's $25 for a children's book. So other genres may be a little bit more, but it's a small price to pay for the visibility that you'll get from that. And then I would also say, don't underestimate the impact that you can have by starting locally, going and visiting your libraries, your bookstores, and offer to do a book reading at these places. Sometimes they'll even, a local Barnes and Noble will order your book and have you come in and do book reading. So what can you do to get the word out about your book locally, and start locally and continue to go? I had one author who said to me, I have sold the majority of my books working with libraries. They completely focused everything on advertising to libraries because they felt that that was where they were receiving the most welcome. They did readings, sold books, and then he's just kept making his area wider and wider and going and talking to others and marketing to libraries and bringing people in. There are bookstores that love to support local authors, and if you can make connections there, that would be really helpful as well. So I hope that also school visits, I don't know if what you're doing is children's books or if it's another genre, but if it is children's books, getting out and doing school visits, there are some people that make the better part of their income by scheduling school visits and contacting some of the schools and coming in and doing school visits. Now, I know school is getting out for the season. However, it won't be very much longer before it'll be back. And so you want to be planning for the back to school season and author visits for then now. The other major thing that you can be doing is signing up now for getting some tables at local events for Christmas around your neighborhood. There's craft shows, there's book fairs, there's all kinds of things, especially around the Christmas season. And usually, you know, you can pay as little as $25 for a booth to sell your book. People get an opportunity to meet the author and get an autographed copy. Maybe you can even do a reading there, maybe a craft with kids. So that gives you an opportunity to sell more and to keep all of the profit to yourself rather than sharing it with Amazon. Okay, so I hope that's helpful. Let's see. I'm an illustrator, but authors don't like paying for samples and samples from illustrators you hire. Oh, I always pay for samples. And I always tell my authors to pay for samples. All of the authors that are, the illustrators that are on my list, my pre-vetted list, they all know that I advise my authors to get samples, and it's a minimum of $50 for the sample. Usually it's between 50 and 75. So if it's a really complex sample, then maybe it's $100 or $150 even for a sample that's really complex. Then that I always say, don't expect a free sample because you're asking people to do something for free. That's their living. That's how they make their money. And we should not be asking for anything for free. But it's very little to spend to make a really good, solid decision and to make a connection between the author and illustrator to know that they're a good fit. Not only does it help the author, but it also helps the illustrator because maybe you're a pain in the rear end author. And I know there are a lot of illustrators that have come across those. And by the time they go through the sample process, they might say, you know what, this isn't the project for me. And so that's just as important as the author because they need to be committing to each other and to this project because really, I say more like 70% of a picture book is the pictures, right? You can have a great story and lousy pictures and it's not going to sell. You can have beautiful pictures and an okay story and it is going to sell very well. So it's really important to build those relationships. And don't do anything for free. If you're an illustrator and you're watching this and you're trying to build up your clientele of authors that are really looking to do something special, they're going to be willing to put their money behind the samples. If they're asking for free stuff, then they're not really serious. So don't do that. And if you want to send me some information and you'd like me to take a look at your illustrations and see if perhaps you might be someone that could be one of my pre-vetted illustrators, then feel free to do that. I'll put my email. It's april@selfpubmadesimple.com. You can feel free to go ahead and send things over to that email address, and then I'll follow up with you and I'll give you at the very least, I'll give you some honest feedback on where you need to grow. And if you have an awesome portfolio and things look really good, then perhaps I can work it out so that we could test you as an illustrator for one of the upcoming books that we have moving forward. Okay. All right. Kelly says, I guess my main question is more about regarding advertisements and promotion for books with low budgets. Okay, so advertisement, I mean, if you have a low budget, can you tell me how much you mean by a low budget? I think, you know, to get started, $100 a month would be reasonable. If you don't have $100 a month to spend on Amazon ads, then I would say don't bother. And I would also say that if you have the $100 to spend, then there's also, you want to make sure that that money goes far, meaning make sure that your listing is optimized and you have a beautiful cover, and it's going to be as productive and convert as well as possible. So if you want to share a link, I'm happy to take a look at it. One other thing is you have the opportunity, if you have 3 books or more, you have the opportunity to do brand ads. And brand ads appear right at the top of the page. And they also allow you to put video into the brand ads. So little video of what's inside and some of the value of what you're doing can go a long way in capturing attention. And what I like about video ads is people are seeing more information than just your cover. They're seeing some of the things you have inside your book, and they're reading on the video some of the value that the book provides. You know, helps children learn how to go potty, or helps children learn to go to bed, helps children learn empathy, whatever it is, right? So you share about the value, and you've got a nice video ad. They understand a lot about your book. And if they then click your book cover and go to the listing, they're much more likely to convert to a sale. If they see the video and they think, nah, that's not what I'm looking for, then they're not going to click on it, and it's not going to charge anything, because you don't pay when the video is shown, you just pay when it's clicked. So that's another way that you could help yourself with some lower cost ads. Elizabeth, I see your hand. Go ahead.
Yes, when you say lower cost ads, and but this particular option, if you have 3 books or more, you could have a brand ad with video. When you say 3 books, can it be 1 book with 2 supplements?
When you say supplements, it's not just ebook, paperback, hardcover, right? You're saying different books that go with it. Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
So let's say a coloring or an activity book. Okay, got you.
Yep, that's absolutely perfect. And like, I had one author that did a Christmas book, and then it had a Christmas activity book, and then some sort of it was like a notebook or something that was also Christmas themed, and she put them all together, and it was beautiful, and the video did really well.
Okay, how much I have to go? I told you I take care of my mom who has Alzheimer's, and this is a tough time for us. How much is your 1-hour coaching session? So
right now it's $189. However, if you're a part of my mastermind, if you sign up for mastermind, that'll probably cover you for almost a year of mastermind. And I have a ton of drop-in sessions where you can get more help and not have to pay quite so much for one-on-one. So I highly recommend taking a look at the mastermind membership, because I do marketing Mondays. I have open office hours for 2-hour slots on Wednesday, Friday, Thursday. There's lots of opportunities to come in like this and get some more help in a small group session.
And my last question, I'm sorry, and I probably can find this on your website, but since I've got you, how much is your mastermind?
So if you, let me just put it here. it's been changing. I'm trying to remember what the annual, let me see, I think it's, no. How about I put the link? I'm trying to remember because we did, I'll tell you what, because you're here with me today and because I had a recent special for $99 for the year, I will give you a $99 for the year if you just send me an email saying I want the $99 mastermind, and I will send it over and send you an invoice out. And that goes for anybody that's on here. 1 year of mastermind membership, $99. And quite honestly, the new price is $99 a month. And I was going to discount that or put some specials out there. But this value is huge, but I will give you that discounted special pricing just because you came here today.
That's
April,
great.
I didn't know that I could do drop-in sessions, which I typically don't have time when I'm working, but that's good to know.
Yeah, there's a
If I
lot of
can
drop-in
do that.
sessions. So
Like,
what
I mean, like, just like open office hours. I thought that was just for your 90-day wait people for some reason.
no, well, this has been a new thing that I'm doing. Probably maybe it's 3 or 4 months old. So I'm gonna just go to aprilcox.com/calendar and you'll see what the mastermind drop-in sessions look like. Today we had a 2-hour session where I had maybe 3 or 4 people show up, and they were all working on their Amazon and Ingram Spark setup. They got to drop in. We went through and I basically handheld through the whole process. Some people have questions here, but we have Marketing Monday, which is usually 8 p.m. Eastern on Mondays. But this week we had Ricardo from Reedsy, so we were happy to accommodate his schedule and do it earlier. I have members of my team. Glaza, who is my website developer, she had a session on Tuesday, and she does it not every week, but quite often to help with websites. We have video and animation with Crestja, Canva sessions with Lesty, how to work with an illustrator. And this is the open office kind of drop-in hours. The self-publishing Q&A from here between 8 and 9. Then I disconnect from my live session and I extend it for another hour for my mastermind folks. I also have another authorpreneur open office hours on Friday, and Tammy does tech topics on Thursday. There's a lot of stuff going on. And if you need design help or feedback on your cover or your design, you get to drop into with Praise Sattler on Fridays. All of this is all part of my mastermind program. And so far it's working really well. And my goal is to be able to serve more people through mastermind, because number one, the budget for one-on-one coaching is more costly. And the second is I'm only one person. So I want to really be able to serve more people and give you an opportunity to take advantage of the group coaching so that you can reduce your budget and I can serve more people and help more people and take advantage of this amazing team that I have and all of their knowledge, which is very vast. Okay, so let's see. Kelly also says, as far as art and hiring illustrators, just make sure you ask your illustrators to work on the sketch first, then line art, then color, then final approval for a better experience. Yes, and always work under a contract. That's exactly the process that you should be going through. And if you have an illustrator that does not tell you that that's the process, they're probably not a very seasoned professional. They may be new at this and maybe they're trying to do one at a time. I had one author say, my illustrator doesn't do storyboards. They just do, one at a time. We do one illustration at a time. And that's not the approach that's going to help you get through things cohesively. So good. Go ahead, Karen. I see your hand is raised.
I was just thinking that Kelly's question about the low budget, would Kickstarter help her? Or is it out too late for that?
It's a good question. I mean, advertising is one of those things that, and even, you know, raising the money to launch your book. Yes, Kickstarter is an opportunity for funding, and it can also be an opportunity to launch and just see if your book has legs, right? Do you have the support that you need? Because you really do need to bring backers to Kickstarter. But I've had authors who raised more than $20,000 for one book, and they use that to fund illustrations or to fund a big print run, to fund marketing efforts. So yes, it's absolutely, that's a great call out. Thank you, Karen.
You're welcome.
Okay,
Can you do it? Can you do a Kickstarter even though your book is already published?
no, it must be for a new book. So when you're
Okay.
ready to write the next one, what you can do, Karen, is set up a Kickstarter for that new book. And I would typically recommend that you have some illustrations to get started with it before, so that people will know what it is that you're creating. And then you can set up rewards so that people can buy your first book or buy both books together. Like you can use your first book and anything you've created for your other books that are already launched, you can make them part of your rewards. But the campaign itself must include something original that has not yet been published. Okay. I have lots of videos on Kickstarter and Kickstarter process and instructions, and we've done work groups for people that wanted to do Kickstarter. So there's lots of information on my YouTube and in my, I have a Facebook group called Kickstarter Made Simple, and that's where we hosted that work group. So we have all of our sessions that were recorded all in there. So if you happen to be looking for some free help with Kickstarter, that'd be a great one, a great group to join. Okay. Can you do Fussy Librarian and BookBub if your ebook is exclusive with Amazon? Yes, because all of those promotional sites, all they're going to do is drive the link, drive them to Amazon. So it does a couple things. It gives you an opportunity to get the promotion and visibility, and it also drives traffic to Amazon, which Amazon likes, because the more traffic you drive, they like that. They want you to send more people to Amazon because they want those buyers to not only look at your book, but other things. And so you may end up getting a lift from Amazon as well as you're driving traffic in for your book. Kelly says she has 15 plus books. Oh, I love it. So if you, oh, she's giving me a link here. You guys ready to help me give a little bit of feedback for Karen? Hold on, let's see. Let me share my screen. Share screen. Whoops, did I zig when I should have zagged? Probably. Let's see. Can you guys see my desktop now? My mommy is an author.
Yes.
Cal, if that is your illustrations, oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. Beautiful cover design. Love it. Absolutely love it. You have the title and subtitle. Love that you've taken advantage of that. Like, what will I be when I grow up? The description here looks nice. Looks like you're highlighting things. It may be a little bit long. Might be worthwhile to, let's just see what, let me read it for a second here, and you guys do the same, and then please feel free to take yourself off mute or share in a comment what you think or what kind of recommendations you might have. Nice. So I would probably just modify the description a little bit just to be a little more succinct and really, I think you did a good job with the hook. So this, I mean, this looks good. Your pricing looks like it's perfect. I mean, usually I recommend $12.99, $13.99 so that you get a decent return, but the $11.99 hopefully is going to get you some more purchases at a lower cost. So that's good. Your hardcover pricing looks fine. Let me just see, did you do A+ content? No A+ content. So that's one thing that you can do. You've got these beautiful illustrations, and let me pull, so I would say, and I'll go in and show you what I mean about A+ content. You've got 60 reviews, and that looks good. You've got this part of a series, which means you're building your author brand. This looks good. If I were you, I would definitely invest in ads right now. You're selling organically as it is. Well, 30 days sales, according to my dashboard here, is 1 book in the past 30 days. So I'd love to see you use some ads to get this to be even better and really target those people who are purchasing this kind of book or whose kids want to be an author. Let's see, maybe your hardcover is selling better. Okay, yeah, so sales, you've got a beautiful book, a beautiful product, and that's the majority of it. So you've got to get it out there. And in order to do that on Amazon, the visibility is going to have to come from one of two things. It's the indexing of your metadata. So I wonder, how well did you do with indexing your book? In other words, what your keywords are. Actually, I can go behind the scenes here and take a look at what you're indexed for. Keywords are really important. The best places for keywords are your title and your subtitle. But above and beyond that, there you have those 7 keyword phrases that you can use inside of your metadata when you're setting up your Amazon title. Let me just take a look at this here. These are the things that your book is. Let me just make sure I'm doing the right version of it though. This is the hardcover. Let me grab the paperback as well, just to make sure that I'm looking at both. Okay. So I'm going to put both of your, the paperback and the hardcover here, and I'm just going to run the search. This is a tool called Cerebro, which is part of Helium. They have a free Chrome extension, but the Chrome extension, they've taken out a lot of really good free stuff that they used to allow you to do with it. So mine is a paid version for this. So my imagination is loud. Let me just see what. Competitor ranking, competitors count, competitor performance score. I just want to see where your organic ranking is. Okay, so here's your position rank. I'm going to pull up the ones where you're ranking the highest and see what you're indexed for. Sponsored rank, let's see. This tool has slightly changed in layout, so my apologies if I'm hunting and pecking around a little bit. Why is it not showing that you're ranking? Sponsored rank, position rank. I have a feeling that you really need to look at your keywords because I'm not seeing you being ranked for, high enough for any of these keywords at all. But these are the things that your book is indexed for. When Mom is Away, Katie Weaver, When I Was a Child. So I've got, you know, a list of all of the things that you are currently indexed for. What I would say is, and when I'm have a very small budget and I need it to be as efficient as possible, I want to look for what are the things, like say the dozen things that you want. When people search for this, I want my book to come up. And I would be very strategic so that you're running ads for those keywords and you're focusing on getting indexed for those keywords. So when you run an ad on them and then somebody searches for that, they find your book and then it converts, your ranking goes up for that keyword. And so the more you drive, the more people convert, the better your ranking is. So right now you're you've got a lot of things all over the place, but no real targeted ranking on any of these. So I'm happy to export the data so that you can see. If you want to drop me an email and just say, can you send me that the ranking information, I'll send you what currently your books are listed for. And this is just an export of everything that we've got there, all of the keywords, all of the competitor information, and everything else that you need to make some good decisions. So this is for My Mommy Is an Author. Yeah, just remind me the name of the book and then I'll be happy to do that. What I usually do with these kinds of keyword terms, I will usually come up with competitive information by saying, show me the terms that are like at least 300 searches a month with no more than 500 competing, 600 competing, and just get, you know, what are the sweet spots where you can really compete and focus on those. So here, come on. This now gets us to 56 filtered keywords. Actually, Mommy, The Hidden Storyteller, My Mother's Tongue. So these are some keywords that you're indexed for that have very little competition. And as a result of that very little competition, you could probably rank for these much easier. So this is another thing that I would play around with. And besides the ones that you really want to be ranked for, are there some that have low competition that would be much easier that we would want to add to that list? So I hope I'm not confusing you too much with this, but that would be a good way. If you really need to dig into a smaller budget, then I would absolutely focus on those that are much more targeted in running those ads. Okay, let's see. I think I'm going to need to just disconnect from YouTube. So I'm just going to say goodbye to those folks that are watching on YouTube. I'm going to continue this for another hour or so with my mastermind group and the folks that are here with me. So I'm going to say goodbye and I hope you come back. Post your questions. If they didn't get answered, post them on the YouTube in the chat, and I will go back and answer each one for you. All right.